Hello, my dear friends. This week I had a very interesting experience on the way to the airport in Milan, Italy. You know, we were in St. Moritz, Switzerland for the bar mitzvah of Rabbi and Chavi Landel's son, Tzvika. It's Monday morning. We left, we took a car service, and we figured that it would take us a certain amount of time. I waged it before, but it ended up, there was a lot of traffic, so it took us a long time. And I was kind of anxious because one time I had an experience where I missed a flight because I got to the airport too late. And you know, there's long lines for security when you go in, when you're going to a foreign country. So I was kind of a little bit nervous. We got to the airport, and we had 3 bags, and a porter came by and he says, "Can I take your bags?" I said, "It's not necessary." But he asked me, "Where are you going?" I told him the name of my airline. He says, "You're in the wrong place. This is Terminal 1. You need to go to all the way down there to the very end of the terminal, the Terminal 23. So normally I wouldn't take it. I didn't need a porter. I could manage myself, but I'm late. And I told him I don't really have money. He says, dollars. I said, you don't take a credit card? No, dollars. So the only dollar I had was, I had a $20 bill. So, okay, I normally would not have spent so much money on a porter, but I had to get to the plane on time. I didn't feel I had much of a choice. So I go with him to the end of the terminal. It took about 10, 15 minutes. And I was so appreciative. He's such a nice person that he offered to take me. And we got there, and he goes inside, and he drops us off in front of one of the gates. And then I take my bags, and I start walking. I was walking through the area where there was some official standing there from the airline. And they said to me, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to my flight at gate 23. They said, what airline are you on? I said, this and this. They said, "Well, you're in the wrong place. This is not where you belong. You're supposed to be in gate 1. And that's where I came from. I came from gate 1. But this guy, you know, in Yiddish, there's a word called farfir. And this guy, he farfired me. And he took me, I was at the right place. And the fear means to lead away, the wrong direction. He farfired me away from where I was supposed to be. He took me the other side. And when I gave him the money, he had the chutzpah. I gave him the $20 bill. He says, more. He didn't speak English too much. More. I said, I didn't tell you I can give you more. I gave you $20. He wanted more. He was a scam artist. And it hit me like a ton of bricks that I was taken for a ride. It was a scam. The guy, he wasn't the porter, he wasn't anything. He had one of those carts. He got it in the airport, and he probably does it all day long. He tricks people into using his services with waste your money. I was really upset the whole way home. I felt silly, and I felt kind of foolish. But then I was thinking about it. You know, in Yahadus, everything that happens has the potential for good. And there's so many examples where you have to take something negative and transform it into something good. For example, tshuva, for example. Tshuva is amazing. A person does averos, the whole year you do averos. Comes Yom Kippur, you do tshuva. The Gemara says, Zidonos nasis kishkagos. The averos becomes like mitzvahs. How can avera become mitzvah? Because you transform it. Because the avera was the impetus for you to do tshuva, and when you do tshuva, you come closer to Hashem. And there's many examples. The Chumash says that Moshe Rabbeinu, when they came to Mara, Parashas B'Shalach, they came to Mara, the water is bitter, and they couldn't drink the water because it was bitter. So Moshe took a stick and he threw it in the water. V'yim tikla mayim, the mayim became sweet. So a person always could find ways to make the water sweet. There's a lot of bitter experiences in life, but you have to transform them. There was a young man that I was speaking to, and he lost his job. He was fired because of a certain reason, and he felt pretty dejected. I said, change that into a positive experience, because next time you'll know, when you take a new job, you'll know what to look out for, what the pitfalls, how you have to present yourself. Everything is that way in life. So I was thinking that this experience of being scammed by this guy, this was a tremendous muscle for me, because, you know, the Yetzer Hara is busy talking to us, scamming us all day long. The Yetzer Hara is scamming us. The Yetzer Hara tries to sell us a bill of goods, and the Yetzer Hara tells us to do this and do that, and don't worry about it. And we go along on our merry way. And in the end, we don't even realize that, like that guy in the airport, we end up all the way in the wrong place where we don't belong. I'll give you an imaginary scenario. A person not careful with Lashon Hara. And, with Lashon Hara, people are always talking about don't speak Lashon Hara, how hurtful it is and how much damage it can cause. But the guy hears the drushes and he's thinking in his head, okay, you know what, maybe it's time for me to stop speaking Lashon Hara. But there's the Yetzer Hara says to him, well, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Your whole life you've been speaking Lashon Hara. Now all of a sudden you become a tzaddik, and you know what? You're not such a big tzaddik. Don't pretend to be holier than you are. You're not so careful about other things. Now all of a sudden with Lashon, you're the big guy, tzaddik Lashon Hara. You're going to be so careful. And we think that the Yetzer Hara is our friend. Like this porter, we think that he's trying to help us out. But the Yetzer Hara, the Chovos HaLevavos says the Yetzer Hara is our biggest enemy. He's our sonay. He's looking to do us in. So the person, okay, the Yetzer Hara says, don't worry about it. Just keep on speaking Lashon Hara. Everybody else is doing it. Why can't you? So the guy goes along. And then there's a situation where it's a little bit more complicated, because it's like stabbing somebody in the back. He could cause somebody to lose a job. He could hurt a marriage. But the Yetzer Hara says, well, you're worried about the things that are so unlikely. What are you worried about? You don't have to be so extreme. You want to become a radical all of a sudden, and you're not going to speak Lashon Hara. And so he keeps on going along for the ride, and he fears him his whole life. Then he comes up to Shemayim after 120 years, and there's a lot of people going up to be standing in the heavenly court before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and God judges each one. And most of the people, God says, okay, you lived a good life, you did the mitzvahs, you tried hard, you're going up there. Comes this guy, we were just in St. Moritz, top of the mountain, so most people, Mi'ala Bahar Hashem, you could go up the mountain. Okay, you did it. This guy comes, and God says, I'm sorry, you're going down there to Gehenna. The guy says, what? Me? What? What did I do? He says, you spoke Lashon Hara your whole life. You know how many people you hurt? Every day you probably spoke Lashon Hara 100 times. You multiply that, but in the days of your life, it's the millions. You spoke Lashon Hara millions of times. You know how many people suffered because of your Lashon Hara? So the person says, but the Yetzer Hara talked me into it. He's a scam artist, the Yetzer Hara. God says, yeah, so you should have realized it while you were alive. Now it's too late. He said, give me another chance. God says, I'm really sorry. It's too late now. Your life is over. You have to go down to Gehenna, just all the way down. You have to take an elevator to go down all the way underneath. And the guy ends up there. He says, how did I end up here? I thought I was going to be on the top of the mountain with everybody else. And the Yetzer Hara, what? The Yetzer Hara, I'm so angry at that Yetzer Hara. He's I don't know if it's a he or she. The Yetzer Hara scammed me and feared me and took me all the way. I didn't want to be down there. I wanted to be up there, just like I didn't want to be on the other side of the airport. So I thought, you know what? That's a terrific lesson for me to extract from this. And it's when you experience something, so it becomes a mashal. The power of a mashal is that you can relate something that is unfamiliar to something that's familiar, and it makes it so much more powerful. So this notion that the Yetzer Hara, I know the Chovos HaLevavos for many years, Chovos HaLevavos says the Yetzer Hara is your enemy. This made it so real for me that here, this guy, I thought he was my friend. He's doing me a taiva. He's doing me a favor, and I was happy to pay him for his services. But instead, he was stealing my money, and worse than that, he was taking me in the opposite direction. I almost lost my flight, missed my flight because of him. And that's what the Yetzer Hara does. The Yetzer Hara fears us and leads us in the opposite direction. In this week's parsha, the story of the Meragim is repeated. Moshe Rabbeinu repeats the story of the Meragim. It's the same story. The people, they thought the Meragim came back, and they thought the Meragim were their friends. The Meragim told them, it's so dangerous. Everybody's going to get killed. There's giants there. The people are dying all over the place. And this is horrible. And we have to go back to Mitzrayim. So they listened to the Meragim. So what happened? They got feared. They could have gone to Eretz Yisrael within 3 days, Rashi says. Instead, they got stuck in the desert for 40 years and had to wander around and go here and go there. That's what happens when you get scammed. When you listen to people who give you bad advice and you're not astute. I should have realized Faggy was very suspicious of this guy, but I'm not so sharp as my wife. Should have listened to my wife. When you're not astute and you let the Yetzer Hara farfear you, so then you end up in the wrong place. And that, I think, is a very powerful lesson that I learned, and it was worth it. I took something that was negative, and by extracting this lesson, using it as a mashal, I learned a terrific life lesson from this experience. I mean, I've heard this all many times, the Chovos Levavos, but the Chovos Levavos that says that the Yetzer Hara is our enemy came to light. It held a whole new ball game. The Yetzer Hara better watch out. I hope I do better with the Yetzer Hara in the future. And there's so many examples of things in life that we do where we think that, yeah, this is okay, and don't worry, the Yetzer Hara speaks to us, and he rationalizes and justifies and all those kind of things. But the end is the Yetzer Hara is our enemy, and he's scamming us, and he's taking us in the wrong direction. Thank you for listening, and I hope everybody has a good Shabbos.